Hi, my name is Noel Davis with Vermicompost, and here's our week 28 update for our bin. And I don't want to really say it's a new bin anymore. It's been around 28 weeks, and I think it's time to start calling it the maintenance of the bin and how we just keep adding things to it until it's too heavy, and then we need to sort it, or we can do a few different things. And there's a couple ways you could do it. Like what I do is I dump it into my other bin back here a lot of times, and that way I don't have to sort it in these bins, which are kind of small, or take them out of here and then maybe add new material to half the bin, so that way you have the worms kind of go back and forth. But we're going to come to that at some point, and I'll see what everybody here wants to do with it and how you want it to proceed. But for right now, let's go to the bin. Let's take a look at how it's doing. So here we go. Oh, a few worms here on the top. Lots of moisture, which is good. Maybe a little bit too much moisture. We actually have, I'm not sure you can see them, but we have some red mites here because it's so moist in here, it looks like. So we're getting some other things in the bin, which happens. You know, I mean, it's not a big deal. They don't really hurt the worms, but there are some red mites in here right along this edge. I don't know if you guys can see those or not. But, all right, let's go to the bin here. Let's take a look. There's a couple worms on top, one worm over here on the bin, worm right there. So they're moving through the bin. This is starting to look really processed now. I don't know if you've noticed this over the time, but it's starting to look a lot less paper and more vermicompost, or the worms, stuff that has traveled through the worm's digestive tract. So let's just dig up here a little bit. Nope, still have some peels over here, it looks like, but lots of worms. So this is still a very healthy bin now. I mean, it's doing really well. It's not overly wet. It's a little bit wet, but not too wet. I mean, this is all a good consistency. It's not like I'm digging through mud, which is what you do not want. You don't want to be digging through mud. Let me pull this guy back down in here. Come on. There we go. Now, some of them might be trying to leave because maybe there's not enough food. I'm not seeing any fruit flies in here either. I don't know if you're seeing any, but I'm not seeing any fruit flies, which is always a good sign. It's not a whole lot of worms built up in that area, but let's try the other side now. See what it looks like over here. Okay, a lot more worms over here it looks like. This is where I think we added the food last time. So yeah, a lot of worms over here on this side. Let's just move this over a little bit so it's more in focus here. So, now again, this is like a coffee ground section right here, and I'm seeing again a lot of little tiny white worms. I'm thinking that they are pot worms, and they seem to only be around the coffee grounds, from what I can tell. So another guy trying to leave over here. So I'm thinking that the coffee grounds have some sort of different pH. It's causing those worms to congregate in those areas, because I've never seen them before. Now, usually I don't have light this bright on my bins, so it's hard for me to tell. All right, we still have a banana peel right here with a bunch of worms on it. Let's see if we can zoom in on that a little bit here. So as you can see right here, there's a whole lot of worms on here on the inside. This is still actually really breaking down. It's still pretty solid. If I remember right, I threw a couple in here, so we're just going to kind of dig in here a little bit more, see what else we can find. Oh, more banana peels. So yeah, oh wow, yeah, here we go. Whole bunch right down here. Hold on a second here. I'm going to just kind of bring you to that area where it is. So right here, there's a whole lot of worms on the inside of this banana peel. So as you can tell, they're still working on it. It's not quite the right angle. See, you can see all the worms on there. So they're still really working on this food. Zoom me back out a little bit. So they're working on this food pretty well, but it's not gone yet. So, but oh wow, here's a whole bunch on this side right here. So here we go. We have a whole bunch of worms right here. So as you can tell, there's a whole mess of worms in this area. This area is doing really, really well. You know, because of all the food over here. They're trying to consume it, obviously. So what we're going to do now is we're going to kind of cover that back up, because you don't want to have all that food sitting in your bin exposed. So we're going to cover that back up. We're going to keep letting them work on that. As we can tell, we still have some of the burlap in here. Shows you how long it takes for some of this stuff to break down. As you do see one little fruit fly over here, but there hasn't been too many really. So I'm thinking that this is pretty good, the consistency of the bin, and how much food is in here and everything. But I'm going to still add food. I'm going to add a special treat today. This is, I juice almost daily, but usually I'm not making a video, so I never put it in these bins really, or don't put it in there that much. But I'm going to put a bunch of this juicing material right on top here. And most of this is carrots. There's very little fruit in here. It's carrots, spinach. There is some apple, which is the red, but it's primarily carrots and spinach and celery. And some cucumber too, I guess, but not as much of that. That seems to get compressed in most of its juice. So we're going to put that right over the top there. And what that's going to do is the next time we open the bin, and I might do a half a week update here, you're going to see that typically in this type of material, worms will just go all over it. I have found that a lot of times, that they will completely cover this area with worms and they'll be all over here. And I use that sometimes when I'm sorting worms. I'll put some food in like this, spread it out, and what'll happen is this all breaks down very quickly because there's so much surface area. Because I mean, think about it, this is almost like a powder. I mean, you can just dig it right apart. So because of it's a powder or drier material with a lot of surface area, more microbes can get on it, start breaking it down faster. Just like if I throw in a carrot, it takes forever. If I break that carrot up into this, it breaks down very quickly. And some of my bins, I add this almost every other day, and it'll be gone in a day or two. So I'm also going to add here, because of the pot worms, I read online about it's probably pH driven. I'm going to throw in some of my these are crushed eggshells. I use the Magic Bullet food processor. Now you're not supposed to breathe the I've read a couple times that you're not supposed to breathe the dust from eggs. That's not good for you. So I'm going to spread that on very carefully. If you're doing this, I recommend you wear a mask or be very, very careful. And I'm going to just kind of spray it down with some water. So it kind of weighs it down, and that way it can't blow around as much. Very little water, but just a little bit with it. This is just a standard spray bottle that I bought at the store. I do not reuse bottles that have been used with chemical cleaners. You got to buy fresh ones or clean ones. That way you're not getting a whole bunch of chemicals in your worm bin. You don't want to start spraying it with a cleaner or something like that by accident. So there we go. There's the worm bin. We've added some of this food. We've added some more eggshells, and we're going to see how this comes in next week, or maybe even a little bit later. I might do a 28 and a half weeks update just to see how this is doing. Because as I said, this stuff tends to attract a lot of worms really quick. And also I want to see if it actually, last time I think I did this, when we first started the bin, I think there was a whole lot of fruit flies that took over. And I want to see if the same thing happens or not. Because in my other bins, I do this all the time, and there's no issue whatsoever. So now that it's a little bit more mature, we're going to try this. Again, still though, there's a lot of mites in these grooves on this lid as well. So, it might be a little bit more moist than it should be. That's why you usually get mites, is because of moisture. So, but I was going to say now a lot of them are gone on here. Oh, here we go. Here's the big one right here. There's a big patch right over here. I don't know if you can see that or not. But, so that's the update for this week. The bin still looks good. And that's hopefully this food will be gone by the time we open it up next time. Thank you.